And now it's time for the sponsor perspective portion of the program today. I should say that this is a bit of a bucket list interview of mine, but I've got to give you a quick clarification. While I'm conducting the interview and these questions are mine, the content of this next interview should not be considered editorial. With that, I'm joined by Marcus Weldon, Chief Technology Officer of Nokia and President of Nokia Bell Labs. Bell Labs is one of my favorite topics. It's sort of the Willy Wonka, factory of technology. And Marcus, it's great to see you. Let me just start out as we talk about the future work. Sometimes I feel like, we need to sort of help people understand what the future might look like. And you've got a preview of that because you are helping to guide that technology development, those investments in the place where you work. So what's on your dashboard and what can we shock the world with right now?
Oh, that's a great question. We're working on, I guess the Bell Labs mantra has always been invent the future needs or solve the problems that represent those that the future of humanity needs to really deal with. So we're looking ahead 10 years and COVID has been a stimulant there. But what we really are looking at is how can we improve humanity? And it turns out there are a number of things that you can do there. And COVID, as I said, has been an accelerant of our thinking. So I think the previous panel was excellent in highlighting some of the issues. We have to enable a world where people can do anything from anywhere. So remote X, we like to call it, where anyone can perform any task, whether it's a leisure task or a work task, from wherever they are at any time and do it with a complete skill set. And that last part is really interesting because it's about augmenting humans, not replacing humans. So we sort of have this new term, the new collar worker, and I'll explain that in a minute. But really what it means is...
I don't mean to interrupt, but just say that again.
Okay.
Hashtag
the new collar worker.
Okay.
Got it? So now you're going to make me explain it. What it really means is that humans will be augmented by machines, and those machines can be software or hardware. But if you think about it, humans have always built machines to help them, not actually to replace them. And in most cases, when we look at this, employment has gone up, wages have gone up, the greater the degree of automation or use of machines by humans. So what we're seeing now is in order to enable this remote X, work from anywhere, anytime, or live from anywhere, anytime, humans are going to have to use machines to execute whatever task it is, whether it's wearing a headset or a remote control function that might be coupled to your musculature, or remote robotic control algorithms, or remote teaching or remote diagnosis. All of that is going to use a set of machines that augment the human ability to remote work or live. And I think that's a really exciting time.
Well, Marcus, I know you're right about this because we're already kind of doing it in a less overt way with, these, right? So we're already augmenting our function, our outreach, our impact of what we're doing. Hannah Rosen years ago wrote a cover piece for the Atlantic magazine, called The Wired Child. And one of the interesting questions I have is right now, when we've talked so much about, certain populations and communities having a high degree of and density of connectivity and others with a low degree, do you get lesser degrees of wired children? And what does this mean for an even a just development in a society? Do you think about that at all?
We do. We think about that a lot. And I think one of the ways we look at that is obviously using 5G technology, which would be more economical in terms of cost per bit than current LTE technology. So obviously some part of what we work on isn't just fancy robotics and sensors and algorithms and AI. At Bell Labs, we work a lot on 5G and even 6G technology. And the point of those technologies is to provide much lower cost per bit, which means there'll be more affordable ways to deliver bandwidth to people. Again, anywhere, anytime. It could be at home, it could be out and about, it could be at work. So that's definitely one way we look at the problem. We also think about learning what people need and contextualizing everything they do so that they get exactly what they need when they need it and not be bombarded by irrelevance. I think some of the personal assistants today are just generic. But if you could imagine the perfect personal assistant that knew exactly what you wanted, whether it's a teaching assistant or a work task assistant or whatever it is, or a medical assistant, it provides you with exactly what you want whenever you want it. That's another way of sort of conserving bandwidth, if you like, because you're only getting what you need when you want it in the way that you are ready to consume it. So yes, you need new networking technologies we're working on, but also new algorithms and new methods for figuring out what you need. And I think that's very exciting.
Do You know, talking to you, it all sounds as if this is moving along naturally and beautifully, and we'll all have it. And it just occurs to me that I know that it's not that easy. You know, that's why we have a Nokia Bell Labs. But you know, when we think about 5G, we think about smart cities, quantum computing, AI, Internet of Things. What are the deficits out there in our research and science? What are the things, or in public policy, what are the pieces that you worry about being wobbly, or that are right now dark spaces that need to be thought through?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think there are new computing paradigms. Maybe it's quantum, maybe it's analog computing, but there are new computing paradigms that will be better suited to solving human problems. Because if you think about it, digital computers are very good at solving mathematical and computational problems, but maybe not human or physical world problems. I think that's right. New sensor technologies, I need to understand my physical world better. We've instrumented the world, you know, the part that we've digitized, if you like, is the part that was naturally digital. Media files, journalism, content was sort of digital anyway, or it was prone to digital because we were recording it and storing it digitally. But our whole physical world, everything we do, transportation, logistics, manufacturing, mining, energy production, we haven't digitized. So we've got to do that. And that's challenging. We've got to put sensors on everything. We've got to attach them to AI systems that provide contextual information to humans. We've got to do that in real time, which means very low latency in order for those systems to work properly. We need them to be very reliable. You wouldn't like it if I said to you, it's up 99% of the time, but 1% of the time, not so sure. So I think all of those are great challenges. Summarize sort of robotics, sensors, networks, AI, cloud, computing, all of those things have to be worked on, and worked on in a holistic way for the good of humanity, not just for the good of technologists.
You know, Marcus, just to wrap up, you know, you are international, you know, by definition in what you do, and the sort of the technology and all this. But there are, you know, a lot of tensions out in the world. You know, I used to look at technology and globalization as sort of evidence of a high trust world. It's now a high fear world, and we're all still connected. But I'm interested in to what degree other big global stakeholders who are investing in science, who are investing in technology, say, okay, America, we see your future, and we raise you, you know, like in a poker deal. I'm interested in where you think we are. Is our science and technology system robustly healthy today, and we need not worry, or are there warning signs?
I think Eric Schmidt was right that the US dropped the ball a little bit in the last couple of decades. It carried the ball on software platforms and web platforms, for sure. But on underlying innovative materials and tech and digital technology and computing technology and silicon technology, I think the US fell a little bit behind. And obviously, I'm British by origin. I came to the US because it was in the lead. And I think we now need to get back to leadership in the US. In the fundamental underlying technologies that enabled the internet revolution. But now we need to do more and invest more to become a leader again and call it the next industrial revolution, and really help invent this new type of worker, the new collar worker, with all the associated technologies that requires.
Well, Marcus Weldon, Chief Technology Officer of Nokia, President of Nokia Bell Labs. You know, I just check off a bucket list item. I find Bell Labs one of the, you know, the luckiest, most interesting assets that happens to be in the United States. So thank you so much for sharing your views with us today.
Thank you, and you were a bucket list for me as well.
Thank you.